Hi, my name is Xinan. I also go by Helen. I'm working fine artist, currently doing my graduate degree at Hunter for fine arts. I am going to present to you this project that I did from April this year, and it's an ongoing project from Shanghai to New York. So I started this project after still during the pandemic, when kind of I rethink about breath and thinking about what is actually dirty and what is actually contagious. And at the same time, I started to do compost at my own kitchen. So doing a bokashi bucket. I actually have 2 buckets. Kind of turning them every day or watching the white mold growing little by little. I really realized I didn't understand what soil is about. And what is like all the things that compile soil. And right around that time, I was invited to do a community project that's also an installation and a performance for 5 days in Shanghai. So it was hosted by Clover Nature School. It's one of the largest NGO in Shanghai that create community gardens out of very tiny residential lands, because China has like strange rules on how like residents can't really grow vegetables in the city. But so they use this opportunity to provide like gardening for residents. And this is like a special event where they took over the pavement and create different spots for artists to do works. And so my idea came from this idea of wanting people to touch soil in a new context that's not in gardening and that's not in agriculture. It's a man-made sandbox that's filled with a ton of soil, gardening soil. And I also chose, you can see in the bottom part, 5 different aggregates. So they are sand from the sea, pebbles, bleached pebbles, and then sea sands, and then the red dust that you raise reptiles in, and then the outside layer of the rice where they use as fertilizers. So because they have such a big contrast to the soil, and they are in themselves a part of the soil, so we just kind of layered on the text with laser cut stencils, and then every time we finish a piece, I also invited a friend that has a drone to take the aerial footage of the whole box. And since it's because I want to kind of provide people a new point of view of their own community, when it's usually when it's usually just sorry, I'm trying to check it's okay. Sorry, I just want to make sure everybody can see me. Because we usually are so used to seeing our work from the ground level and not seeing from high above. And I have with myself a set of sentences I want to present. So every time when there's nobody around, I just like quick get into it and form my phrase. So this is one of them, is wake up to dream. But also the neighborhood has like 4 different kindergartens and 2 primary schools. So there are constantly flows of kids walking around. And whenever kids are coming in, I kind of just invite them to write whatever they want to say. And usually they don't even know how to read or write. So it's actually most of the time their parents are interested in forming certain sentences. So this one is Hao Hao. It's the boy's nickname, the boy in the red jacket. So he want to see his name on the ground. So we make the form and took the picture, and he was really happy. And in this slide, what I really enjoy is the SOS sign. It feels like the aerial view of like a helicopter seeing people on the earth asking for help. And different participants, they all have different ideas of how they want to present the text. So this girl tried to do text in every single color. And we also try to push and pull. So all the images also get sent to all the participants who were in it. So inside I include different scales of seeing the earth, seeing the landscape. So this one is kind of from the moon point of view, looking at the earth below. And I think what's interesting on top of my own kind of presenting my own text is it was really opportunity for very young kids that growing up in the city to actually play with dirt. Because sandbox is actually a very tricky thing in parks because the sand tend to spill everywhere. So there are less and less sandboxes for kids in the city. Also at the same time, parents and especially grandparents, they really don't want their kids to touch soil because they think, oh, it's dirty, it's full of bacteria, it's bad for your health. But actually through this process, when parents are so busy creating meaning for their kids to take pictures, they actually can allow their kids to play for a little bit. So the children don't really care what meaning they are creating, but from this project, everybody is getting something for themselves. So it's a pretty fun project that we call Sandbox for All. And it's a close-up image that means so in Chinese. And you can see like when we are actually playing the sandbox, we get to observe and get to touch and get to see different textures. And another kind of meaningful part of this project personally for me is the text of this font and size is usually in the context of slogan or propaganda in China. And it's usually talking about really straightforward or cold things. But through this project, people get to express what they really want to talk about, even though it's just funny chats or funny words. And I feel this is a really great channel to see people's text in their own community context. And I prepared this phrase, we live side by side with enemies from the past. And when we create this text, everyone that was watching got super quiet. And there was even a grandpa who lived right above this sandbox later on came down to us and said he really, really appreciate this text. And since then, I've came back to New York to continue my schooling at Hunter. And I really want to continue this project, but also without the limit of artificial sandbox, meaning I can do it anywhere. So I've been trying to figure out ways to make them portable so I can have them in a backpack and where to place them and how to document them. So this is on a rooftop in Brooklyn that use potting soil. And the text comes from a YouTube message that I saw. It was from a very strange YouTube video, so you would never find it unless the algorithm bring you there. And I found it's a weird internet camaraderie. I feel very warm about it. And the variation that I created for this project in New York is instead of having a drone, because the New York drone law is crazy, I brought with me a 16 feet long selfie stick. So as a documentation, I just hook it up to my phone, and every time when I finish it, the finishing image is me and other people taking a selfie with the text. And I tried various mediums. So this is just with water. By the west side of Manhattan, there are a ton of people walking every day, kind of enjoying the waterfront. But at the same time, they really don't. Everybody is so in their world. Like this image of a girl walking by on her AirPod in her phone. So many people walk by without realizing the text down on their feet. So I also realized this selfie stick that work as a surveillance camera in a sense. But also when I was like lifting the selfie stick up, I kind of provide people an opportunity to look up with me, kind of to see the sky and to see the tree above. So I gradually developed to make it into I take selfie with people on the street. So they will see me bring up the selfie stick, and they would, when we start to have a conversation, and by the end of the conversation, I invite them to have a selfie with me, kind of take a moment of what's happening right now in the landscape. We can see trees, we can see water, we can see the text that's evaporating, and we get to see ourselves in that very tiny image. But on top of that, through doing this trial in the city, is I realized I'm performing a role of a typical Chinese tourist. But what makes a difference is I'm holding a 16 feet long selfie stick. And so it actually draws everybody in, and we can have this conversation. And people get to try to do the thing themselves. At the same time, we're talking about experiences living in the city and how these languages and these texts taking out of context and putting a new place can have meaning that they themselves don't really realize in their normal life. So to me, it is a very fun, very casual, but also meaningful project. So this picture on the right is after I dust off the soil, there's still tiny bits of dust, like just lingering all over the roof. So like there are like various stages that are all fascinating and interesting to me. And I am very honored and happy to join the symposium and present, and as also an invitation for collaboration. So I am interested in presenting this work further in different contexts, and also as a way to kind of draw people into your project that you are working on in the public, in bigger open spaces, and in kind of inviting kids and young adults to kind of get in touch with nature and get to play with dirt that they usually just think it's a dirty thing that we have no words for. So I'm looking forward for any suggestions and advices for workshops, for happenings, and even like rolling the dirt and kind of observing it in a new way. And I'm also interested in kind of digging in the city. I don't know like what's the regulation around that. I'm interested in maybe harvesting soil and also submitting that as a part of scientific research. So if you are doing research that need to dig around city, I'm happy to do that and just take a little part for my own work. Yeah, and also connect to the BioBus presentation by Ashley and Maren. It's like it feels like watching like a Power of 10 video, like how we zoom in and zoom out in different scales. Yeah, so feel free to reach out. I have my contacts in the last page, but I also can type my info in. And all my texts come from I overhearing people talk on the street. So like I'm returning the phrases I hear as a foreigner, kind of put it back onto the street in a different setting. So I also invite everybody else, if you are a poem on the side, you have some phrases that you really want to see them in a new context, like feel free to share them and we can work together in presenting them. And that is my thing. Thank you.